For nearly 2,000 years, every empire, every war, every revolution, and nearly every tragedy in the world of Attack on Titan revolved around a single power: the founding Titan. Among the 9 Titans, it stood apart from all the others, not merely because it was the strongest, but because every Titan shifter that followed ultimately originated from it. The Attack Titan, the Colossal Titan, the Armored Titan, the Beast Titan, and every other one of the 9 existed only because a young girl named Ymir Fritz encountered something beneath an ancient tree that forever changed the course of human history. To understand the Titans themselves, there is no better place to begin than with the founder, because without it, the entire story of Attack on Titan simply would not exist. Nearly 2,000 years before Eren Yeager was born, Ymir Fritz lived as a servant of the Eldian king. She possessed no wealth, no authority, and no freedom of her own. After being blamed for releasing livestock, she was hunted into a vast forest where she eventually discovered an enormous, hollow tree, unlike anything around it. Falling deep beneath its roots, she came into contact with a strange, spine-like organism that fused with her body, transforming her into the first Titan. Even by the conclusion of the series, Hajime Isayama never fully explains the true nature of this mysterious creature. Some interpret it as the source of all living matter, while others view it as an ancient parasite that granted extraordinary power to its host. Whatever its true identity, one fact remains undeniable. The moment Ymir emerged from that tree, history divided into 2 eras: the world before Titans and the world after them. King Fritz immediately understood the military value of Ymir's new abilities. Rather than allowing her to live freely, he transformed her into the ultimate weapon of the growing Eldian Empire. She conquered enemy nations, destroyed opposing armies, built roads and bridges, cultivated land, and expanded Eldia across much of the known world. To later generations, Ymir would become almost a mythical figure, worshipped by some and feared by others. Yet the reality of her life was remarkably tragic. Despite possessing strength beyond imagination, she remained a servant until the very end. Her Titan power gave her master an empire, but it never gave her freedom. Years later, while protecting King Fritz from an assassin's spear, Ymir chose not to regenerate from her fatal injuries. Whether she simply lost the will to live or consciously accepted death has long been debated by fans. But her passing did not end the power of the Titans. Refusing to allow such an extraordinary ability to disappear, King Fritz ordered his daughters, Maria, Rose, and Sheena, to consume Ymir's body. Through that horrifying act, her power continued to exist after death, eventually dividing into the 9 Titans that would dominate world history for the next 2 millennia. At the center of those 9 remained the original power, the founding Titan. Unlike every other Titan, the founder possessed authority over all subjects of Ymir through the invisible network known as the Paths. Existing beyond ordinary space and time, the Paths connected every Eldian who had ever lived into a single spiritual system centered upon Ymir herself. Through this connection, the founding Titan could command pure Titans across enormous distances, alter the memories of every Eldian simultaneously, and even change their biology on a fundamental level. Diseases could theoretically be eliminated, physical characteristics modified, and entire generations transformed through a single command. No other Titan possessed abilities that influenced an entire people rather than simply increasing the strength of one individual. Its power extended even further. The founding Titan could create Titans, remove their power, manipulate countless colossal Titans simultaneously, and communicate directly through the paths, regardless of distance. During the height of the Eldian Empire, this made the royal family almost impossible to challenge. Even if enemy nations defeated ordinary Titan shifters, they still faced the overwhelming authority of the founder, whose abilities reached far beyond conventional warfare. Entire populations could be controlled without drawing a sword. Yet despite its seemingly limitless power, the founding Titan carried one extraordinary limitation. Its full abilities could only be awakened by someone possessing royal blood, or by someone making physical contact with a royal-blooded individual. This restriction shaped nearly every major political conflict in the history of Eldia. Possessing the founder alone was never enough. Without the bloodline of King Fritz, its greatest abilities remained locked away, waiting for the proper successor. For centuries, the founding Titan stayed within the royal family, allowing the Eldian Empire to dominate much of the world. Eventually, however, centuries of conquest and internal conflict weakened the empire from within. The Great Titan War erupted as noble families turned against one another, while oppressed nations seized the opportunity to rebel. Watching this endless cycle of violence, King Karl Fritz reached a decision unlike any ruler before him. Believing Eldia's history of conquest had become unforgivable, he abandoned the empire entirely and fled with many of his people to Paradis Island. There, he used the founding Titan to perform one of the greatest feats ever witnessed. Countless colossal Titans were hardened into 3 enormous walls surrounding the island, creating the barriers known as Maria, Rose, and Sheena. At the same time, Karl Fritz erased the memories of nearly every Eldian living inside those walls, replacing centuries of history with a carefully constructed illusion. Entire generations genuinely believed humanity beyond the walls had already perished, never realizing that the founding Titan itself had rewritten their understanding of the past. For more than 100 years, the founding Titan remained hidden within the Rice family. Each new royal inheritor also inherited Karl Fritz's vow-renouncing war, a powerful ideology that gradually erased any desire to use the founder's abilities aggressively. Even when faced with extinction, every royal successor came to believe that Eldia deserved whatever punishment history would eventually deliver. The strongest Titan in existence became trapped by the ideals of the king, who last wielded it freely. That fragile balance finally collapsed when Grisha Jaeger entered the underground chapel beneath the Rice estate. Desperate to save the people inside the walls from destruction, Grisha pleaded with Frida Rice to use the founding Titan against Marley. Bound by Karl Fritz's vow, she refused. Realizing there was no other option, Grisha transformed into the attack Titan, defeated Frida, and inherited the founding Titan before later passing both Titans to his young son, Eren. For years, Eren carried the most powerful Titan in history without truly understanding what he possessed. Because he lacked royal blood, nearly all of the Founder's extraordinary abilities remained dormant. He briefly activated its power only once after making contact with Ymir Fritz's pure Titan, commanding nearby Titans to attack her. But neither Eren nor anyone else understood why the ability had suddenly appeared. Only much later, after entering the realm of the paths alongside his half-brother Zeke, did Eren finally unlock the founding Titan's true potential. The decision he made would alter the world forever. Rather than following Karl Fritz's philosophy of peaceful surrender, Eren awakened the countless colossal titans sleeping within the walls and unleashed the rumbling. Entire nations disappeared beneath the footsteps of millions of titans, proving that the founding Titan remained every bit as terrifying as the legends had claimed. For 2,000 years, it had shaped empires, rewritten history, erased memories, and determined the fate of entire civilizations. In Eren's hands, it once again demonstrated why no other Titan had ever come close to matching its influence. Among the 9 Titans, each possessed its own strengths and unique abilities. Yet every one of them ultimately traced its existence back to Ymir Fritz and the original power she carried beneath that ancient tree. The founding Titan was never simply the strongest Titan. It was the beginning of them all, the heart of the Eldian Empire, and the single force that influenced every major event throughout the history of Attack on Titan. Among the 9 Titans, none is surrounded by more mystery than the Attack Titan. Unlike the founding Titan, whose abilities are clearly defined, or the Colossal Titan, whose destructive power is immediately obvious, the Attack Titan seems almost ordinary at first glance. It possesses exceptional physical strength, remarkable endurance, and impressive combat ability. Yet none of those qualities fully explain why it became one of the most important Titans in history. Its true significance lies not in its muscles or its speed, but in a single extraordinary ability that fundamentally altered the flow of time itself. The Attack Titan could see memories that had not yet happened. For generations, this power remained completely misunderstood. Unlike every other Titan shifter, who inherited memories only from previous holders, the Attack Titan existed outside that normal pattern. Its inheritors could occasionally glimpse fragments of memories belonging to future successors, creating a strange cycle where the past and future constantly influenced one another. The exact process was never completely predictable. The memories often arrived without context, appearing as scattered images, emotions, or conversations whose meaning only became clear years later. This single ability transformed the Attack Titan into something unique among the 9. Rather than simply passing history forward, it allowed history to reach backward. Long before Eren Yeager inherited the Titan, one man quietly carried this burden in secret: Eren Kruger. To Marley, he was merely another officer serving the government that oppressed the Eldians. In reality, Kruger spent years operating as a spy, known only by the name the Owl, secretly assisting the Eldian restorationists while hiding his true identity from everyone around him. For more than a decade, he worked behind enemy lines, gathering information, protecting key individuals whenever possible, and waiting patiently for the right moment to act. Eventually, that moment arrived. As Grisha Jaeger and the restorationists were sentenced to become pure titans on Paradise Island, Kruger revealed his identity, transformed into the attack titan, and effortlessly defeated the Marleyan soldiers escorting the prisoners. It was one of the first times viewers witnessed the attack titan in action, displaying a fighting style built around relentless aggression rather than overwhelming size or specialized abilities. Yet the most remarkable part of that encounter came afterward. As Kruger prepared to pass the attack titan to Grisha, he spoke words that should have been impossible. He told Grisha to save Mikasa and Armin. There was one obvious problem. Neither Mikasa nor Armin had even been born. Kruger himself appeared confused by what he had just said, admitting that he did not know whose memories he had seen. It was the first clear indication that the attack titan experienced time differently from every other titan. Future inheritors were already influencing those who came before them, creating a paradox unlike anything else in the series. Grisha Jaeger soon inherited both the titan and its strange burden. At first, he believed his mission remained straightforward. He would infiltrate the walls, recover the founding titan, and restore freedom to the Eldian people. Over time, however, fragments of future memories began appearing before him. Like Kruger, Grisha rarely understood what he was seeing. The images arrived without explanation, offering only brief glimpses of events that had not yet occurred. Those visions gradually guided every major decision he made. The most famous example came beneath the Rice Chapel, standing before Frida Rice and the royal family. Grisha hesitated. Despite everything Marley had taken from him, despite the suffering he had witnessed throughout his life, he found himself unable to murder innocent children. For several agonizing moments, he lowered his hands and questioned whether he could truly carry out his mission. Then something changed. Grisha suddenly began reacting to someone who was not physically present. That unseen figure was Eren. Through the mysterious connection created by the attack titan and the founding titan working together inside the paths, Eren was able to witness the memories of his father while simultaneously influencing them. Grisha could hear Eren's voice urging him forward, reminding him of everything that depended upon his decision. Overcome by those future memories, Grisha finally transformed, defeated Frida, and inherited the founding titan. Without Eren's influence, history might have unfolded very differently. It is one of the most fascinating moments in Attack on Titan, because it reveals that the future was never simply waiting to happen. Instead, future inheritors actively shaped the choices of those who came before them. Cause and effect no longer flowed in a straight line. The future created the past that eventually produced itself. This paradox has become one of the defining characteristics of the Attack Titan. When Eren eventually inherited both the Attack Titan and the Founding Titan, the mystery surrounding its abilities finally became clear. Unlike previous inheritors, Eren possessed access to both the future memories of the Attack Titan and the timeless realm of the Paths. This combination allowed him to experience history almost as a completed whole rather than as a sequence of individual events. By the final chapters of the series, Eren no longer viewed time as ordinary people do. Past, present, and future existed simultaneously. He already knew many of the tragedies that would occur, including his own fate. Yet he continued moving toward them because those events had already become part of the memories inherited by earlier Attack Titan holders. The very act of trying to escape that future would have altered the past in ways that prevented his own existence. Freedom and destiny became hopelessly intertwined. Perhaps that is why the Attack Titan has always been associated with the pursuit of freedom. Throughout history, every known inheritor shared an extraordinary determination to resist oppression, regardless of the odds. Kruger sacrificed his entire life fighting Marley from within its own military. Grisha abandoned everything to restore his people. Eren ultimately challenged the entire world itself. Whether this relentless drive originated from the Titan or from the individuals who inherited it remains one of the series' most interesting questions. Kruger himself once remarked that the Attack Titan had always moved forward, always fighting for freedom. The wording is fascinating. He did not say its inheritors fought for freedom. He said the Titan itself did. Perhaps the Attack Titan carried more than memories across generations. Perhaps it also carried a shared will passed from one successor to the next, growing stronger with every inheritance until it finally reached Eren Yeager, the man who would reshape the world more dramatically than any holder before him. Unlike the founding Titan, whose authority depended upon royal blood, the Attack Titan required no special lineage. Its greatest strength was its refusal to submit. Again and again, it appeared in the hands of people willing to challenge impossible odds, even when victory seemed completely unattainable. It was never the largest Titan, nor the strongest in raw power, but history repeatedly proved that determination could influence the world just as profoundly as overwhelming strength. By the time Eren's journey reached its conclusion, the Attack Titan had become something far greater than another weapon inherited through generations. It had become a symbol of humanity's endless struggle between destiny and free will, reminding every successor that no matter how predetermined the future appeared, they would always continue moving forward until the very end. If the founding Titan represented absolute authority, and the Attack Titan symbolized the pursuit of freedom, then the Colossal Titan embodied something much simpler: overwhelming destruction. Among all 9 Titans, none inspired immediate terror, quite like the Colossal Titan. Standing approximately 60 meters tall, it towered above every other Titan in existence for most of history. Its immense size alone made it one of the most recognizable figures in Attack on Titan, but its true danger extended far beyond its height. Every transformation carried the destructive force of an enormous explosion, allowing a single inheritor to devastate entire cities before taking a single step. It was less a soldier than a walking natural disaster. Like the other 8 titans, the Colossal Titan originated from the power of Ymir Fritz after her death, eventually becoming one of the 9 inherited by Eldian families throughout the centuries. Although little is known about its earliest wielders, during the age of the Eldian Empire, its role was almost certainly straightforward. Wherever enemy fortifications proved too strong to breach, the Colossal Titan could simply erase them. Walls, castles, gates, and defensive lines meant very little against a Titan capable of looking down upon nearly every structure built by human hands. Its greatest weapon was often its arrival. Unlike most Titan transformations, which produced only a flash of lightning, the Colossal Titan could release an explosion powerful enough to flatten buildings across a wide area. The user could partially control the intensity of this blast, choosing between a relatively controlled transformation or one capable of devastating an entire district. This ability made the Colossal Titan uniquely valuable in warfare, as it could destroy enemy positions before the battle had even begun. Yet this immense power came with equally significant limitations. The Colossal Titan consumed extraordinary amounts of energy. Every movement required tremendous effort, making it noticeably slower than nearly every other Titan. While its massive limbs could crush buildings with ease, they lacked the speed and agility displayed by Titans such as the Attack, Female, or Jaw Titan. Against smaller opponents capable of exploiting its limited mobility, the Colossal Titan often depended upon careful planning rather than quick reactions. Its second remarkable ability partially compensated for that weakness. The Titan could emit enormous quantities of superheated steam from its body, creating a defensive barrier that made direct attacks almost impossible. Any soldier attempting to approach risked suffering severe burns before ever reaching the Titan itself. The greater the amount of steam released, however, the faster the Colossal Titan consumed its own muscle tissue. As the battle continued, its body gradually became thinner and weaker, forcing the inheritor to carefully balance defense against endurance. Power always demanded a price. For many years, the most famous inheritor of the Colossal Titan was Berthold Hoover. Raised in Marley as an Eldian warrior candidate, Berthold inherited the Titan while still very young, before joining one of the most important military operations in modern history. Alongside Rainer Braun, Annie Leonhardt, and Marcel Galliard, he was sent to Paradis Island to recover the founding Titan hidden within the walls. To accomplish that mission, Marley first needed to create enough chaos for its infiltrators to enter unnoticed. The Colossal Titan became the perfect tool. In the year 845, Berthold appeared without warning outside Wall Maria. His enormous form rose above the gate of Shiganshina district, becoming the first Titan that Aaron Jaeger, Mikasa Ackerman, and Armin Arlert had ever seen. With a single kick, Berthold shattered the outer gate, allowing countless pure Titans to flood into the city. Within moments, the peaceful life inside the walls disappeared forever. That single attack became one of the defining moments of the entire series. Thousands died. Entire towns were abandoned. Humanity lost nearly a third of its territory in a single day. Remarkably, Berthold accomplished all of this without engaging in a prolonged battle. After destroying the gate, he simply disappeared in a cloud of steam before anyone fully understood what had happened. For years, the identity of the Colossal Titan remained one of the greatest mysteries facing the people inside the walls. Berthold himself presented a fascinating contrast to the Titan he possessed. Despite controlling one of the most destructive powers in existence, he was naturally quiet, hesitant, and deeply conflicted by the mission Marley had assigned him. Unlike some of his fellow warriors, Berthold rarely displayed hatred toward the people inside the walls. Living among them for years allowed him to recognize that they were ordinary human beings, rather than the monsters Marley had always described. That realization made every battle increasingly painful. By the time his identity was finally exposed, Berthold understood exactly what his actions had caused. Yet he also believed he no longer had the freedom to choose another path. His tragic acceptance of that reality transformed him into one of the series' most sympathetic antagonists. His final battle demonstrated the Colossal Titan's terrifying capabilities at their fullest. Transforming within Shiganshina district, Berthold released an explosion so immense that much of the surrounding area was immediately consumed. As soldiers desperately searched for a way to approach him, waves of superheated steam forced them back again and again. Ordinary attacks proved almost useless against an opponent who could burn away Anon attempting to reach the nape. Victory required extraordinary sacrifice. Armin Arlert volunteered to distract the Colossal Titan by enduring the intense steam for as long as possible, allowing Eren to attack from behind. The plan succeeded, but at an enormous cost. Armin's body was left so badly burned that death seemed almost certain. Only after Levi chose to inject him with Titan serum and allow him to consume Berthold did Armin survive, inheriting the Colossal Titan for himself. The transfer marked a profound change in the Titan's history. Where Berthold had often struggled with uncertainty, Armin approached the Colossal Titan as a weapon of absolute last resort. Fully aware of its devastating potential, he avoided transforming unless no other option remained. Every activation risked destroying not only enemy forces, but also nearby allies and civilians. Possessing the Colossal Titan meant accepting responsibility for one of the most destructive abilities ever inherited by a single person. This became especially clear during the assault on Marley. When Armin transformed above the naval port at Liberio, the resulting explosion instantly obliterated warships, military facilities, and much of the surrounding harbor. The blast demonstrated that even decades after Berthold's first appearance, the Colossal Titan remained one of the most terrifying military weapons in existence. A single transformation accomplished what entire armies could never hope to achieve. Yet despite all its destructive power, the Colossal Titan represents something deeper within the story of Attack on Titan. It serves as a reminder that the greatest weapons are often carried by ordinary people forced into extraordinary circumstances. Neither Berthold nor Armin desired widespread destruction. Both inherited a power capable of leveling cities, yet both spent much of their lives wishing they never needed to use it. Among the 9 Titans, none changed the course of battles more dramatically with a single appearance. The sight of the Colossal Titan towering above the walls, became one of the defining images of the series, symbolizing the beginning of humanity's struggle and reminding both characters and viewers that sometimes history can change in the space of a single moment, a single transformation, and a single step taken by a giant whose shadow stretched across an entire city. If the Colossal Titan represented overwhelming destruction, then the Armored Titan represented endurance. Among the 9 Titans, none was built more completely for surviving the battlefield. While other Titans relied on speed, overwhelming size, or unique supernatural abilities, the Armored Titan excelled through sheer resilience. Nearly every part of its body was protected by hardened plates resembling steel armor, allowing it to withstand attacks that would cripple or destroy almost any other Titan. Throughout history, it became the perfect frontline weapon, capable of leading charges, breaking defensive positions, and continuing to fight long after others had fallen. Its greatest strength was reliability. Like the other 9 Titans, the Armored Titan originated from Ymir Fritz's divided power after her death. Although the identities of its earliest inheritors remain unknown, its role throughout the Eldian Empire was almost certainly consistent. Wherever armies required a warrior capable of surviving overwhelming resistance, the Armored Titan answered that need. Its hardened body allowed it to crash through fortifications, absorb enemy attacks, and protect allied forces advancing behind it. Rather than serving as a weapon of surprise, like the Colossal Titan, the Armored Titan thrived in prolonged battles where endurance determined victory. Its armor covered nearly every vital area of the Titan's body. The face, shoulders, chest, arms, and legs were protected by hardened plates that could deflect blades, artillery, and even many anti-Titan weapons. Only a few joints remained exposed to preserve mobility, creating small weaknesses that experienced opponents could eventually exploit. This balance between protection and movement made the Armored Titan remarkably versatile. It was durable enough to survive direct assaults while remaining agile enough to engage skilled opponents in close combat. The armor itself, however, was never completely indestructible. Repeated attacks against the same location could eventually crack or shatter the hardened plates. As technology advanced, Marley developed increasingly powerful anti-Titan artillery, capable of penetrating defenses that had once seemed nearly invincible. By the time of the final years of the Titan era, even the Armored Titan was beginning to show the limitations of relying solely on physical durability in a rapidly changing world. For much of modern history, the Armored Titan belonged to Reiner Braun. Chosen as one of Marley's warrior candidates while still a child, Reiner inherited the Titan, despite initially being considered one of the weaker recruits. Unlike gifted candidates such as Annie Leonhardt or Marcel Galliard, Reiner succeeded largely because of his determination and unwavering desire to earn the approval of those around him. Marley believed those qualities would make him dependable, and in many ways, they were correct. Few inheritors demonstrated greater loyalty to their mission, even when that mission slowly destroyed them from within. Alongside Berthold Hoover, Annie Leonhardt, and Marcel Galliard, Reiner crossed the sea to infiltrate Paradis Island and recover the founding Titan. The mission changed almost immediately when Marcel sacrificed himself to save Reiner from an unexpected pure Titan, leaving the remaining warriors frightened, isolated, and unsure whether they should continue. Faced with failure before their mission had truly begun, Reiner convinced the others to press forward, believing they could still succeed if they remained committed to their objective. That decision altered history. Shortly after Bertholdt destroyed the outer gate of Shiganshina as the Colossal Titan, Reiner transformed into the Armored Titan and charged directly through the inner gate of Wall Maria. Unlike Bertholdt's attack, which relied upon overwhelming force from a distance, Reiner used his own body as a living battering ram. The impact shattered the gate completely, allowing the thousands of pure Titans to pour into human territory and forcing the survivors to abandon Wall Maria altogether. It was a demonstration perfectly suited to the Armored Titan. Simple, direct, relentlessly effective. For the next several years, Reiner lived among the soldiers of the 104th Cadet Corps while hiding his true identity. During that time, something unexpected happened. The line separating his role as a Marleyan warrior and his life as a scout gradually began to disappear. Reiner formed genuine friendships with the very people he had been sent to destroy. He trained beside them, laughed with them, and fought alongside them against Titans, all while carrying the secret that he himself had caused the tragedy that defined their lives. The psychological burden eventually became unbearable. Unable to reconcile his two identities, Reiner's mind effectively split between his role as a loyal warrior and his role as a soldier of the walls. At times, he genuinely seemed to forget which life was real. This internal conflict became one of the defining aspects of his character, making him perhaps the most emotionally complex inheritor of any Titan in the series. When Reiner finally revealed himself as the Armored Titan, the confrontation shocked everyone around him, especially Eren Yeager, who had viewed him as both a mentor and an older brother. The battle that followed demonstrated both the strengths and weaknesses of the Armored Titan. Reiner's armor allowed him to survive blows that would have destroyed other Titans, but Eren gradually adapted by targeting the exposed joints and using martial arts techniques learned from Annie. For the first time, the seemingly invincible Armored Titan appeared vulnerable. As the conflict continued, Reiner repeatedly survived situations that should have been fatal. He endured direct attacks from the Beast Titan, battles against the Scouts, explosions from anti-Titan weaponry, and encounters with increasingly powerful enemies. More than once, he escaped death by transferring his consciousness throughout his Titan's nervous system, an extremely rare ability that allowed him to survive injuries to the nape that would normally kill a Titan, shifter instantly. Whether this technique represented an overlooked aspect of Titan biology, or simply an extraordinary feat performed by Reiner, has never been fully explained. Yet it reinforced the same idea that had always defined the Armored Titan. It refused to fall. By the final stages of the story, however, the world had begun changing faster than even the Armored Titan could adapt. Marley increasingly relied upon advanced artillery, armored trains, and modern naval fleets, rather than Titans alone. Reiner himself admitted that the age of the Titans was slowly coming to an end, as technology closed the gap that had once made the Nine nearly unstoppable. Even so, the armored Titan remained indispensable. During the rumbling, Reiner once again stood on the front lines, not as an invader, but as one of the defenders trying to prevent humanity's complete destruction. His final battles perfectly reflected the journey of both the man and the Titan he carried. The same power once used to destroy the walls was now being used to protect the people living behind them. Perhaps that transformation explains why the armored Titan remains one of the most memorable of the Nine. Its hardened plates symbolize physical strength, but Reiner's story reveals that true endurance is not measured by how many blows someone can survive. It is measured by the willingness to continue moving forward despite unbearable guilt, endless regret, and the crushing weight of past mistakes. Among all the Titan shifters, few suffered as deeply as Reiner Braun. Yet few also fought longer, endured more hardship, or carried greater responsibility. In many ways, the armored Titan was never simply the strongest defender on the battlefield. It became the embodiment of perseverance itself, standing firm long after its armor had begun to crack, refusing to collapse even when the person inside desperately wished the fighting would finally end. Among the 9 Titans, the female Titan is perhaps the most misunderstood. At first glance, its name suggests that its defining characteristic is simply its appearance. Unlike the other Titans, it consistently manifests with a feminine body, regardless of its inheritor, leading many viewers to assume that this is its primary distinction. In reality, the female Titan earned its reputation for a very different reason. Rather than specializing in overwhelming strength, impenetrable defense, or immense size, it possessed an extraordinary level of adaptability. It was one of the most versatile Titans ever created, capable of combining multiple abilities into a single highly effective battlefield weapon. This flexibility made it invaluable throughout history. Like the other 8 Titans, the female Titan originated after the death of Ymir Fritz, inheriting a unique fragment of her original power. Although little is known about its earliest inheritors during the age of the Eldian Empire, Marley eventually recognized that the female Titan excelled as an all-purpose combat Titan. It lacked the overwhelming destructive force of the Colossal Titan or the unmatched authority of the founder. Yet it performed almost every battlefield role remarkably well. It could fight in close quarters, travel long distances, harden portions of its body for offense or defense, and adapt quickly to changing situations. Its greatest strength was balance. No single attribute defined it. Instead, it combined many strengths without possessing many serious weaknesses. One of its most valuable abilities involved hardening. Like several other Titans, the female Titan could crystallize specific parts of its body, dramatically increasing both offensive and defensive capability. By concentrating hardened crystal around its fists, elbows, knees, or feet, the inheritor could deliver attacks capable of shattering buildings or piercing even the armored Titan's defenses. The same hardening could also be used defensively, allowing the female Titan to block blades, artillery fire, and attacks from other Titan shifters. Unlike Reiner's permanent armor, however, the the female Titan could apply this protection only where it was needed. That made it both efficient and unpredictable. Perhaps even more unusual was its ability to mimic certain characteristics of the other 9 Titans. Although the exact limits of this adaptation are never fully explained, Marley discovered that the female Titan responded exceptionally well to consuming or receiving material derived from other Titans. By ingesting small amounts of spinal fluid or tissue, it could acquire limited versions of their abilities far more easily than most Titan shifters. This remarkable compatibility earned it a reputation as one of the most flexible Titans in existence, capable of evolving according to the needs of its inheritor. Another unique ability involved its scream. Unlike the founding Titan, which could command pure Titans directly, the female Titan emitted a piercing cry capable of attracting nearby mindless Titans toward its location. This ability did not grant direct control over them, but it allowed the inheritor to manipulate the battlefield by drawing Titans toward allies or enemies alike. During certain operations, this simple technique proved devastating, creating chaos that ordinary soldiers struggled to overcome. For much of modern history, the female Titan belonged to Annie Leonhardt, raised in Marley by an adoptive father who trained her relentlessly from childhood. Annie developed into one of the most gifted warrior candidates of her generation. Her combat skills surpassed nearly everyone around her long before inheriting the female Titan, making the combination of exceptional martial arts and one of the most versatile Titans an extraordinarily dangerous pairing. Unlike Reiner or Berthold, Annie rarely allowed herself to form emotional attachments. She approached her mission with remarkable discipline, believing that emotional distance offered the greatest chance of survival. Even so, small moments throughout the series revealed a compassionate side that she worked constantly to suppress. Beneath her calm exterior existed someone deeply exhausted by the endless cycle of violence surrounding her. After arriving on Paradise Island, alongside Reiner and Berthold, Annie infiltrated the military before eventually joining the military police brigade, where she could remain close to the capital while avoiding the constant danger faced by the scouts. Her true mission, however, never changed. Like the other warriors, she searched for the founding Titan while waiting for an opportunity to complete Marley's objective. That opportunity arrived during the 57th Exterior Scouting Mission. Transforming into the female Titan beyond Walrose, Annie launched one of the most devastating attacks ever suffered by the Scout Regiment. Unlike previous Titan encounters, this battle immediately demonstrated that the female Titan possessed intelligence equal to its physical abilities. Annie deliberately ignored ordinary soldiers whenever possible, focusing instead upon locating Eren Yeager while eliminating only those who stood directly in her path. Her efficiency terrified the scouts. Experienced veterans who had survived countless expeditions found themselves completely overwhelmed by an opponent capable of thinking, adapting, and fighting with extraordinary precision. Annie used martial arts techniques even while transformed, countering attacks with throws, joint locks, and carefully targeted strikes that reflected the years of training she had received as a child. Eventually, Erwin Smith's elaborate trap succeeded in capturing the female Titan within the forest of giant trees. Yet even surrounded by hundreds of soldiers, Annie calmly analyzed the situation before hardening portions of her body to protect herself from attack. Although she ultimately escaped that particular ambush, the encounter revealed how difficult it truly was to defeat a skilled Titan shifter using conventional methods. Her final confrontation came within Stohes district. After Armin and the scouts exposed her identity, Annie transformed inside one of humanity's largest cities, leading to an enormous battle against Aaron's attack Titan. The fight showcased nearly every advantage possessed by the female Titan. Annie combined hardened strikes with superior technique, repeatedly overpowering Aaron despite his increasing experience. Even when cornered, she continued adapting, forcing the scouts to constantly revise their strategy. When defeat finally became unavoidable, Annie demonstrated one final remarkable ability. Encasing herself inside an almost indestructible crystal of hardened Titan material, she entered a dormant state that preserved both her life and the secrets Marley desperately wished to protect. For years, she remained suspended inside that crystal beneath the capital, unable to participate in the events unfolding around her while the world continued moving toward war. Only after Aaron's activation of the rumbling did Annie finally awaken. Returning to a world transformed beyond recognition, she no longer fought for Marley or against Paradis alone. Instead, she joined former enemies in a desperate effort to stop the destruction of humanity itself. It was a fitting conclusion for a character whose life had always existed between opposing sides, never fully belonging to either. The female Titan reflects that same balance. It possesses no single overwhelming ability that immediately defines it. Instead, it succeeds through versatility, intelligence, and adaptation. Whether fighting hand-to-hand, hardening its body, attracting pure Titans, or borrowing traits from other Titan powers, it continually adjusts to whatever challenge stands before it. Among the 9 Titans, the female Titan reminds us that victory does not always belong to the strongest or the largest. Sometimes, it belongs to the one capable of adapting more quickly than everyone else, remaining calm when circumstances change, and finding opportunities where others see only impossible odds. That combination of flexibility and discipline made the female Titan one of the most respected weapons in Marley's arsenal, and one of the most dangerous Titans ever to walk the world. Among the 9 Titans, none has inspired more debate than the Beast Titan. Unlike the Colossal Titan or the Armored Titan, whose appearances remain largely consistent from one inheritor to the next, the Beast Titan possesses an unusual characteristic that makes it unlike any of the others. Its form is not fixed. Instead, it can resemble different animals depending upon the individual who inherits it. Throughout history, there have likely been Beast Titans resembling wolves, birds, deer, serpents, and countless other creatures, each carrying the same Titan power while displaying dramatically different appearances. For most of the series, however, only one version is ever seen: the ape. Standing roughly 17 meters tall, Zeke Yeager's Beast Titan is covered almost entirely in thick brown fur, with unusually long arms that extend far below its waist. At first glance, it appears awkward compared to the more human-shaped Titans. Yet that unusual body grants advantages no other Titan possesses. Its long limbs generate tremendous throwing power, allowing Zeke to launch stones with such speed that they become indistinguishable from artillery shells. Entire formations of soldiers could be annihilated from hundreds of meters away before ever reaching the battlefield. It transformed the Beast Titan into a living siege weapon. Like every other one of the 9, the Beast Titan originated after Ymir Fritz's death, inheriting one fragment of her original power. During the centuries of the Eldian Empire, its exact role likely varied depending upon the animal form possessed by each successor. A flying Beast Titan would have fought very differently from one resembling an elephant or a wolf. This remarkable diversity makes the Beast Titan unique, because its battlefield purpose was never completely predetermined. Each inheritor shaped the Titan as much as the Titan shaped them. Despite these differences, every Beast Titan retained exceptional intelligence. Unlike Titans designed primarily for close combat, the Beast Titan excelled at observation, planning, and supporting larger military operations. Rather than charging directly into battle, it often functioned as a commander positioned behind the front lines, using superior awareness to coordinate attacks while exploiting weaknesses from a distance. No inheritor demonstrated those strengths more effectively than Zeke Jaeger. Born in the Liberio internment zone, Zeke was the son of Grisha Jaeger and Dina Fritz, making him one of the few individuals in history to possess royal blood while living under Marley's control. His childhood was shaped by impossible expectations. Grisha hoped his son would become the figure who restored freedom to the Eldian people, while Marley viewed him as another warrior candidate to be molded into a weapon. Caught between two competing futures, Zeke eventually betrayed his own parents to the Marleyan authorities, a decision that haunted nearly every aspect of his later life. After inheriting the Beast Titan from Tom Kasaver, Zeke discovered that his royal blood unlocked abilities no previous Beast Titan had ever demonstrated. The most extraordinary involved his spinal fluid. By allowing others to ingest or inhale small amounts of his spinal fluid, Zeke created an invisible connection between himself and those individuals. At any later moment, with nothing more than a scream, he could transform every affected Eldian into a pure Titan simultaneously. Villages, military units, and entire populations could become Titans in an instant, without warning or preparation. This ability fundamentally changed Marley's military strategy. Rather than relying solely upon traditional Titan warfare, Zeke could secretly infiltrate enemy territory by contaminating food, water, or gas supplies with his spinal fluid. Once enough Eldians had been exposed, a single command unleashed an army of pure Titans directly behind enemy lines. The psychological effect proved almost as devastating as the physical destruction, because no one could know exactly when or where the transformation would occur. One of the clearest demonstrations came in the village of Ragako. When members of the scout regiment arrived, they found the settlement completely abandoned, despite showing almost no signs of battle. The mystery remained unsolved until it was eventually revealed that every resident had unknowingly inhaled gas containing Zeke's spinal fluid before being transformed into Titans, at the same moment. Connie Springer later discovered that one of those titans was his own mother, condemned to remain trapped in that form for years. It was one of the darkest examples of the beast titan's power. Zeke's throwing ability proved equally terrifying. During the battle to reclaim Shiganshina, he shattered enormous boulders into hundreds of fragments before launching them with astonishing precision toward the advancing scout regiment. The stones struck with such force that entire rows of soldiers disappeared almost instantly. Horses, buildings, and defensive positions were obliterated within seconds, leaving the battlefield looking as though it had been struck by modern artillery rather than a single titan. Very few survived. The massacre became one of the defining moments of the series, demonstrating that intelligence and preparation could be every bit as deadly as overwhelming physical strength. Zeke rarely fought emotionally. He calculated distances, anticipated enemy movements, and systematically eliminated threats before they ever reached him. His greatest conflict, however, was never military. It was philosophical. Unlike Eren, who believed freedom justified almost any sacrifice, Zeke concluded that the suffering of the Eldian people would never truly end while Titans continued to exist. Influenced heavily by Tom Ksaver, he eventually embraced the euthanasia plan, a proposal that would use the founding Titan to render every subject of Ymir incapable of having children. Over time, the Eldian race would disappear peacefully, bringing an end to centuries of warfare without requiring further bloodshed. To Zeke, this represented mercy. To others, it represented extinction. This ideological conflict ultimately drove the final chapters of Attack on Titan. When Zeke and Eren finally met within the mysterious realm of the Paths, each attempted to use the founding Titan to reshape the future according to their own beliefs. Their disagreement revealed that despite sharing the same father and similar childhood suffering, they had reached completely opposite conclusions about what freedom truly meant. Even during the rumbling, Zeke remained one of the most important figures in the world. His royal blood continued serving as the key that allowed Eren to access the full power of the founding Titan, making him central to events far beyond anything the Beast Titan alone could have accomplished. Looking back across its long history, the Beast Titan stands apart from the other 8 because its true strength has never depended upon physical power alone. Its appearance changes from one generation to the next. Its battlefield role adapts to its inheritor. And its greatest victories usually come through intelligence rather than brute force. In Zeke Yeager's hands, those qualities reached their highest expression, transforming the Beast Titan from an unusual curiosity into one of the most dangerous and strategically valuable titans ever to exist. Among the 9 titans, the Beast Titan proves that the greatest weapon is not always the strongest body or the sharpest claws. Sometimes it is the mind capable of seeing several moves ahead, turning knowledge into strategy, and changing the outcome of a war long before the battle itself has even begun. Among the 9 titans, the Jaw Titan is the smallest. At first glance, that might seem like a disadvantage. Standing only around 5 meters tall, it lacks the towering presence of the Colossal Titan, the overwhelming durability of the Armored Titan, or the commanding authority of the Founding Titan. Yet history repeatedly proved that size alone meant very little on the battlefield. The Jaw Titan compensated for its smaller frame with extraordinary speed, unmatched agility, and perhaps the most destructive bite of any Titan ever to exist. It was built for precision rather than power. Like the other 8 Titans, the Jaw Titan emerged after the death of Ymir Fritz, inheriting one fragment of her original power. Throughout the centuries of the Eldian Empire, it likely served as a fast assault Titan capable of reaching enemy commanders, destroying fortified positions, and exploiting weaknesses that larger Titans simply could not access. While giants like the Colossal Titan reshaped battlefields through overwhelming force, the Jaw Titan excelled at striking exactly where its enemies were least prepared. Its defining feature was, unsurprisingly, its jaws. The Jaw Titan possessed an incredibly powerful bite capable of crushing materials that resisted almost every other Titan. Hardened crystal, reinforced armor, and even structures built specifically to withstand Titans, often shattered beneath the pressure of its teeth. Complementing those jaws were razor-sharp claws that allowed the Titan to scale walls, leap across rooftops, and tear through opponents with remarkable speed. It moved more like a predator than a soldier, constantly changing direction and attacking before its enemies could properly react. Among the 9 Titans, none displayed greater mobility. Its small frame allowed it to sprint through narrow streets, climb cliffs with ease, and launch itself enormous distances through the air. This agility made it particularly dangerous against slower Titans, whose size often prevented them from responding quickly enough to its relentless attacks. Rather than overpowering opponents directly, the Jaw Titan relied upon speed, timing, and precision. The first inheritor most viewers encounter is Marcel Galliard. Raised in Marley as one of the warrior candidates, Marcel inherited the Jaw Titan shortly before being sent to Paradise Island alongside Rainer Braun, Berthold Hoover, and Annie Leonhardt. By every account, Marcel was one of the strongest and most capable members of the group. He possessed natural leadership, considerable intelligence, and genuine concern for his fellow warriors. Ironically, his greatest act of kindness led to his own death. As the young warriors crossed Paradise shortly after arriving on the island, they were suddenly attacked by a wandering pure Titan. Rainer froze in terror, unable to react before the creature reached him. Marcel immediately shoved his friend out of the way, sacrificing himself instead. Within moments, the Titan devoured him, bringing his time as the Jaw Titan to an abrupt end before viewers ever witnessed his abilities in battle. The Titan that consumed Marcel was no ordinary, pure Titan. It was Ymir. Unlike the ancient founder, whose name she unknowingly shared, this Ymir had once been an ordinary Eldian, living in Marley. After being transformed into a pure Titan as punishment, she wandered aimlessly for roughly 60 years before encountering Marcel by chance. By consuming him, she inherited the Jaw Titan and regained her human form, awakening in a world that had changed completely during the decades she had spent trapped as a mindless Titan. Ymir's version of the Jaw Titan differed noticeably from Marcel's. Rather than possessing a hardened facial mask like later inheritors, her titan appeared more primitive, with exposed teeth and elongated claws. Even so, it retained the extraordinary agility that defined the Jaw Titan throughout its history. Ymir frequently relied upon speed rather than direct confrontation, climbing buildings effortlessly and maneuvering across the battlefield with an ease few other titans could match. Although initially motivated by self-preservation, Ymir gradually formed deep bonds with Historia Rice and the people living within the walls. Faced with the choice between remaining safely on Paradis or returning to Marley to repay what she believed was a debt to Reiner and Berthold, she ultimately chose the latter. Knowing almost certain death awaited her, Ymir willingly surrendered herself so that Marley could recover the Jaw Titan. Her decision remains one of the series' quietest tragedies. After Ymir's return, the Jaw Titan passed to Porco Galliard, Marcel's younger brother. For Porco, inheriting the Titan represented more than military duty. It became an opportunity to honor the brother he had admired throughout his childhood, while proving that he deserved the power Marley had once denied him. Confident, aggressive, and fiercely competitive, Porco fought very differently from Ymir. His Jaw Titan possessed a hardened mask protecting its face, along with reinforced claws capable of tearing through even Titan hardening. Porco frequently demonstrated why Marley valued the Jaw Titan so highly. During battles against both enemy nations and the soldiers of Paradis, he used incredible speed to overwhelm opponents before they could organize an effective defense. Even experienced Titan shifters struggled to keep pace with his movements. Combined with the Cart Titan's battlefield support and the Armored Titan's resilience, the Jaw Titan became an essential part of Marley's military strategy. Its greatest demonstration of raw power came during Eren Yeager's assault on Liberio. After defeating Porco in battle, Eren made use of the Jaw Titan's most unique ability in an unexpected way. Unable to break the hardened crystal protecting Lara Tiber, the inheritor of the Warhammer Titan, Eren used Porco's immensely powerful jaws as a living tool, forcing him to bite through the crystal. The supposedly indestructible shell finally shattered beneath the Jaw Titan's incredible bite, allowing Eren to consume the Warhammer Titan and inherit yet another of the 9. Even in defeat, the Jaw Titan proved indispensable. Porco's own story reached its conclusion during the Battle of Shiganshina. After suffering devastating injuries, he realized he could no longer continue fighting. Rather than allowing himself to be consumed by a random Titan, Porco deliberately sacrificed himself so that Falco Grice, who had recently transformed into a pure Titan, could inherit the Jaw Titan. It was a final act of choice in a life largely controlled by Marley, ensuring that the Titan passed to someone he believed still had a future worth protecting. Falco's inheritance produced something entirely new. Because Falco had previously consumed Zeke Yeager's spinal fluid, traces of the Beast Titan influenced his transformation. As a result, his Jaw Titan developed distinctly avian features, including feathers, a beak-like jaw, and eventually enormous wings that granted him the power of flight. For the first time in known history, the Jaw Titan could carry allies through the air, dramatically changing its role during the final battle against Eren. It was a reminder that even after 2,000 years, the 9 Titans still held surprises. Looking back across its history, the Jaw Titan consistently accomplished feats far beyond what its size suggested. Marcel saved a friend's life at the cost of his own. Ymir regained her humanity after 60 years of wandering and chose sacrifice over safety. Porco fought relentlessly to honor his brother's memory before giving another young warrior the chance to live. Falco transformed the Titan itself into something history had likely never seen before. Among the 9 Titans, none demonstrates more clearly that greatness is not measured by size alone. The Jaw Titan may have been the smallest of them all, yet its speed, adaptability, and extraordinary power repeatedly altered the course of history, proving that even the mightiest warriors could fall before the swiftest predator on the battlefield. Among the 9 Titans, the Cart Titan rarely receives the same attention as the Colossal Titan or the Attack Titan. It lacks overwhelming physical strength, possesses no devastating transformation, and carries none of the mysterious powers that made the founding Titan, or the Beast Titan, so important to history. At first glance, it appears almost unimpressive. Moving on all fours, with a long face and an unusually lean body, the Cart Titan hardly resembles the fearsome warriors that dominate the battlefield throughout Attack on Titan. Yet appearances can be remarkably deceptive. While the other Titans excelled at destroying armies, the Cart Titan excelled at something equally important. It kept those armies alive. Like every one of the 9 Titans, the Cart Titan originated after the death of Ymir Fritz, inheriting a unique fragment of her power. Although little is known about its earliest wielders during the height of the Eldian Empire, its abilities strongly suggest that it served a logistical rather than offensive role. Armies require far more than soldiers to wage successful campaigns. Supplies, ammunition, food, medical equipment, and communication are just as essential as weapons themselves. And the Cart Titan proved uniquely suited to transporting everything required to keep a military force operating over long periods. Its greatest advantage was endurance. Unlike the other Titan shifters, whose transformations could generally be maintained only for relatively short periods before exhaustion became overwhelming, the Cart Titan could remain transformed for months at a time. This remarkable stamina allowed its inheritor to travel enormous distances without rest, crossing battlefields and entire countries while carrying heavy loads that would have been impossible for ordinary soldiers or horses to transport. No other Titan possessed such extraordinary staying power. Its quadrupedal body further enhanced this role. Although moving on 4 limbs might initially seem awkward, the design distributed weight remarkably efficiently, allowing the Cart Titan to support massive cargo platforms across its back. Marley took full advantage of this unique physiology by developing specialized military equipment designed specifically for the Cart Titan. Armored harnesses, mounted machine guns, artillery platforms, observation posts, and supply containers could all be attached directly to its body, transforming the Titan into something resembling a mobile military fortress rather than a conventional Titan shifter. It became the perfect support unit. The inheritor, most closely associated with the Cart Titan, is Peak Finger. Raised in Marley as one of the warrior candidates, Peak inherited the Cart Titan while still quite young. Unlike several of her fellow warriors, she rarely relied upon raw aggression or emotional determination. Instead, Peak approached every mission with careful observation, patience, and remarkable intelligence. She constantly analyzed situations before acting, often recognizing dangers that others overlooked entirely. These qualities perfectly complemented the Cart Titan's strengths. Because she spent such extraordinary lengths of time transformed, Peak eventually became so accustomed to moving on 4 limbs that she occasionally continued crawling, even after returning to human form. This unusual habit amused some of her fellow warriors, yet it also illustrated just how completely she had adapted to carrying one of the 9 titans. Few inheritors ever became as naturally synchronized with their titan as Peak did. Throughout Marley's campaigns against rival nations, the Cart Titan became indispensable. While titans such as the Armored Titan and Beast Titan attracted most of the attention, Peak quietly ensured those operations remained possible. She transported artillery across difficult terrain, delivered supplies to advancing forces, evacuated wounded soldiers, and provided mobile fire support wherever it was needed. Modern warfare increasingly relied upon coordination and logistics, and the Cart Titan excelled precisely in those areas. Its importance became especially clear during the war against the Mid-East Allied forces, as Marley struggled against enemies armed with increasingly advanced technology. Peak repeatedly demonstrated how valuable the Cart Titan remained despite the gradual decline of Titan warfare. Machine guns mounted upon her armored platform devastated enemy positions, while her exceptional mobility allowed her to relocate quickly whenever circumstances changed. Unlike the slower Colossal or Armored Titans, the Cart Titan could rapidly respond to evolving situations without sacrificing endurance. Its battlefield value extended well beyond transportation. Peak herself proved to be one of Marley's most perceptive strategists. Again and again, she recognized deception before anyone else. She questioned suspicious situations, anticipated enemy traps, and consistently demonstrated an ability to remain calm under enormous pressure. During the infiltration of Paradis Island, Peak was among the first warriors to suspect that something about Yelena's behavior seemed unusual. Later, when confronted by Eren Yeager, she outwardly appeared willing to cooperate, while quietly searching for an opportunity to alert her allies. Her intelligence repeatedly saved lives. Even after Eren gained access to the founding Titan, Peak refused to surrender. She continued fighting, despite knowing that her Titan lacked the overwhelming offensive abilities possessed by many of the others. Instead of relying on brute strength, she used careful positioning, teamwork, and persistence, constantly supporting her allies while searching for opportunities to exploit even the smallest weaknesses. This willingness to adapt defined both Peak and the Cart Titan. Perhaps its most overlooked characteristic was its flexibility. Unlike several Titans whose purpose remained narrowly focused, the Cart Titan could be modified to perform an astonishing variety of tasks. It served as a transport vehicle, reconnaissance platform, artillery carrier, communications center, evacuation unit, and mobile weapons system, depending upon the needs of the mission. Few other Titans integrated so naturally with modern military technology. as the world gradually advanced beyond the era when Titans alone decided wars. The cart Titan adapted more successfully than almost any of its counterparts. During the final battle against Erin's founding Titan, Peak demonstrated another remarkable aspect of her abilities. Because the cart Titan consumed relatively little energy during transformation, she could repeatedly exit and re-enter her Titan form far more often than most shifters. Throughout the battle, she transformed again and again, despite suffering tremendous physical exhaustion, continually returning to the fight even after her Titan had been destroyed. This resilience allowed her to participate in operations that would have exhausted nearly any other inheritor long before the battle reached its conclusion. Although the cart Titan rarely stood at the center of the story, its influence stretched across nearly every major conflict. Without its logistical support, Marley would have struggled to supply its armies. Without Peak's intelligence, several operations would likely have ended in disaster. Without its remarkable endurance, countless missions requiring rapid movement across vast distances could never have succeeded. The cart Titan accomplished these achievements not through overwhelming spectacle, but through consistency and reliability. In many ways, that makes it one of the most realistic of the 9 Titans. History is often remembered through famous battles and legendary warriors, yet armies rarely triumph because of strength alone. Victory usually belongs to the side capable of maintaining supplies, transporting equipment, gathering information, and adapting to changing conditions faster than its opponent. The cart Titan embodied those principles perfectly. Among the 9 Titans, it may never have appeared the most impressive, yet its quiet dependability made it indispensable. While others shattered walls, leveled cities, or altered the fate of nations through immense displays of power, the cart Titan accomplished something far less dramatic, but no less essential. It ensured that those great battles could continue at all, proving that sometimes the most important figure on the battlefield is not the one standing at the front, but the one making certain everyone else can keep moving forward. Among the 9 Titans, none remained hidden longer than the War Hammer Titan. For more than a century, the world knew almost nothing about its abilities or its inheritor. While the armored Titan fought on the front lines, the Beast Titan commanded Marley's armies, and the Colossal Titan became a symbol of overwhelming military power. The War Hammer Titan quietly remained in the possession of the influential Tiber family. Unlike Marley's warriors, the Tibers rarely displayed their Titan publicly, choosing instead to exercise political influence while preserving one final weapon that almost no enemy had ever encountered. That secrecy became one of its greatest advantages. Like the other 8 Titans, the Warhammer originated after the death of Ymir Fritz, inheriting one fragment of her original power. Its abilities differed dramatically from those of every other Titan. Rather than relying primarily on physical strength, the Warhammer could create weapons and structures directly from hardened Titan flesh. Enormous spikes erupted from the ground without warning. Massive hammers, swords, shields, and defensive barriers could appear almost instantly, allowing the user to reshape the battlefield in ways no other Titan could. Its greatest strength was versatility. Instead of overpowering opponents with raw force, the Warhammer forced them to react constantly to new attacks. Every battle became unpredictable because the inheritor could create different weapons depending on the situation. It was one of the few titans capable of fighting effectively at both close and long range, making it an extraordinarily difficult opponent even for experienced titan shifters. Its most unusual ability involved the inheritor itself. Unlike every other titan, whose human body rested inside the nape, the Warhammer's user could remain completely outside the titan while controlling it remotely through a cable of hardened flesh. As long as that connection remained intact, destroying the titan accomplished almost nothing. An enemy first had to locate the hidden human body before victory became possible. The final known inheritor was Lara Tiber. Very little is known about Lara because secrecy had always defined her family's role. While Reiner, Annie, and Zeke spent years serving openly as warriors, Lara remained hidden until Willie Tiber concluded that Eren Yeager posed a threat great enough to justify revealing the Warhammer Titan to the world. That moment came during Willie's declaration of war in Liberio. As diplomats and military leaders from around the world gathered to hear his speech, Eren transformed beneath the stage, killing Willie and throwing the city into chaos. Lara immediately answered by transforming into the Warhammer Titan, beginning one of the series' most memorable Titan battles. Eren quickly discovered that this opponent fought unlike any he had faced before. Enormous spikes burst from beneath the streets. Hardened weapons formed without warning. And every attempt to close the distance forced him into another carefully prepared trap. Even after badly damaging the Titan's body, the attacks continued because Lara herself remained hidden beneath the battlefield inside a crystal of hardened Titan material. Eventually, Eren noticed the cable connecting the Titan to its true operator. By severing that connection, he immobilized the Warhammer, but another obstacle remained. Lara's crystal proved impossible to destroy through ordinary attacks. Once again, the Jaw Titan changed history. After defeating Porco Galliard, Eren used the Jaw Titan's immensely powerful bite to shatter the crystal before consuming Lara and inheriting the Warhammer Titan for himself. Its abilities later became invaluable. Using the Warhammer's power, Eren created hardened structures during several battles and expanded his already extraordinary collection of Titan abilities. By this point, however, the fate of the world no longer depended on a single Titan. It depended on all of them. When Eren activated the rumbling, the remaining Titan shifters gradually set aside years of hatred and conflict. Reiner, Annie, Armin, Peak, Falco, and their former enemies joined together in one final attempt to stop the destruction of humanity. It was the first time that nearly every surviving inheritor of the 9 Titans fought on the same side, united against a catastrophe greater than any nation or ideology. The conflict ended with Eren's death. More importantly, it ended Ymir Fritz's 2,000 years of suffering. After witnessing Mikasa make the painful decision to kill the person she loved, Ymir finally released the attachment that had kept her bound to King Fritz for centuries. The mysterious source of Titan power disappeared, the paths collapsed, and every surviving Titan shifter immediately lost their abilities. Pure Titans returned to human form, and the curse that had shaped history since Ymir first entered the ancient tree finally came to an end. The 9 Titans disappeared with it. Looking back across their history, each Titan represented a different aspect of power. The founding Titan embodied authority. The attack Titan represented the pursuit of freedom. The Colossal Titan brought overwhelming destruction, while the Armored Titan symbolized endurance. The Female Titan demonstrated adaptability. The Beast Titan emphasized intelligence. The Jaw Titan relied upon speed. The Cart Titan proved the importance of support and logistics, and the Warhammer Titan showcased creativity and versatility. Together, they formed the complete legacy of Ymir Fritz. For 2,000 years, these 9 powers shaped empires, decided wars, and transformed the lives of countless people who never chose to inherit them. Their stories became legends filled with sacrifice, ambition, tragedy, and impossible choices. When the Titan curse finally vanished, humanity entered an uncertain future, still burdened by conflict, but no longer controlled by the powers that had dominated history for 2 millennia. The age of the Titans had finally come to an end, yet the stories of the 9 would continue to be remembered as one of the greatest and most tragic legacies ever left behind